1 month before the discharge, the world completely collapsed and communication between the base and the outside world was cut off. Not only regular calls, but even emergency communication networks were inactive. Because of this, the troops asked the platoon leader if the unit was still safe at least and how long they could hold out. Fortunately, the unit was located on a high mountain, surrounded by many obstacles, but they were already reaching their limit. Additionally, food supplies were also running out, and in their fight for survival, they made a difficult decision. In situations like these, it is always necessary to maintain proper nutrition and gather as much strength as possible. And the lunch that day had been prepared with a special sauce, a bear stew, to boost their courage. While eating, the soldiers debated whether this was truly their only option, as venturing outside seemed like suicide. However, the fact that the food was extremely delicious was what stood out the most. And suddenly, with an unexpected change in personality, Lieutenant Kim dropped everything, saying they needed to leave immediately. Kim shouted that they needed to go out and fight right away, which was the complete opposite of what he had been saying moments earlier. But it wasn't just the lieutenant who changed his behavior, as all the soldiers accepted the command. After all, people need to eat, and there's nothing better than hunting monsters after a meal. The cook of this platoon is Sergeant Shin Young-jun, 23 years old, and he is the head responsible for this completely crazy unit. Later, the soldiers performed exercises in the base's court, and right in the middle of it, an exciting soccer match took place. With the area clear for the goal, one of them got so excited that he pushed his teammate's head. Meanwhile, in a convenience store, a man asked if his colleagues had already heard the latest about the Nespa. The entire platoon was dissatisfied with the lunch menu for the day, but they still hoped that dinner would be better. And from a distance, our protagonist watched everything, a bit irritated, as it was almost mealtime and the soldiers were stuffing themselves with other things. In any case, he knew he needed to take the supplies to the kitchen first, and upon arriving there, he began by cutting carrots with unparalleled skill. But while he was cooking, someone appeared in the room, catching his attention. This was because the squid, the main dish for the night, was out of stock. Obviously, Shin was desperate and recalled that he had repeatedly told his assistant to check the ingredient list properly. Furthermore, the hero still had to deal with an issue from the lieutenant, who refused to eat vegetable tempura, which was supposed to be the side dish. Shin was deeply annoyed but decided to let the squid issue slide. Due to the lack of manpower, the boy was already handling additional kitchen duties. And at that moment, they had no squid for dinner, and Shin still had to change the side dish for the lieutenant. Thus, the sergeant shouted for everyone to hear that they would be changing the dinner menu from fried squid to fried pork belly. Fortunately, they had that, so Shin ordered his assistants to start preparing immediately. And since the lieutenant liked noodles with his meals, it was decided they would make a chicken noodle dish for him. Later, the soccer game continued on the outdoor court. But from a spot very close to the court, all that remained of an unlucky soldier was a puddle of blood and a shoe. And his killer was one of the giant monsters that had invaded this world and was now getting closer to the barracks. Back in the kitchen, the previous assistant handed a soda to the surgeon in an attempt to help him relax a little. And since there were only a few days left until discharge, the boy accepted, saying that with so little time left, everything seemed better. Returning to the conversation, the assistant mentioned